Well, hello everyone. It's Sybil Starr. I'm here to give you the update on the Sagittarius solar eclipse that occurs on December 14th at 8:14 a.m. Pacific. It occurs at 24 degrees of Sagittarius. This is a total solar eclipse, which means that the sun is completely blocked by the moon. It's a perfect alignment, and it is only visible in parts of South America and a small edge in South Africa. This eclipse lasts around 3.5 hours. This is a south node solar eclipse. And so a solar eclipse always brings change and new beginnings, especially around the anyone who has planets around those degrees, around 24 degrees of the mutable signs, which are Sagittarius, Gemini, Pisces, and Virgo. Um, but they're always, like I said, harbingers of change. They bring new beginnings, but a south node solar eclipse, an ending must happen first. So there is a culmination of something before the new can begin. And I do want to say this south node does impact Donald Trump's chart very strongly, whether you are a supporter or not a supporter. So it does seem like there is an ending and a new beginning for him. It does impact his moon. The symbol for this, the Sabian symbol for this Sagittarius solar eclipse is a very, very beautiful one, even in the midst of these very challenging times. It is a bluebird, a sign of good luck and happiness, is standing at the door of the house. And bluebirds are signs of, they bring happiness, the bluebird of happiness, and it's an omen of good fortune. And Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, and Jupiter is a planet that brings blessings. It opens doors and closes doors. And so I think it's quite appropriate for a Jupiter ruled eclipse for this Sabian symbol of an omen of good fortune. So yes, doors are closing so that doors can open. But what does it actually mean? Sagittarius is into the sign of Sagittarius. Sagittarius is called the quest for the truth or the quest for the meaning of life. They're both true. And we are certainly in a time where truth is has become very subjective. It's hard to know what is true and what is not true. We're in a time where dissenting views are termed misinformation. And there is a lot of misinformation out there, and the misinformation is often coming from the sources that we would normally trust. So the planet Neptune is in a square to this solar eclipse, and Neptune brings the fog. It brings in the fog, it brings in the veil of illusion. And it's so much about finding your own inner GPS. It is about learning to trust your own inner guidance, especially about what is true and what is not true. But it's also really important to look at our beliefs, because Sagittarius also rules our beliefs, our belief systems. And so there's two things that just keep coming up. One is called cognitive dissonance. That's when our beliefs do not line up with new information that is coming in. So we have a tendency to reject new information because it doesn't align with our beliefs. And so that question that I've asked many times before, do you believe what you see, or do you see what you believe? It's so important to have an open mind, to really get an idea of what's really happening in the big picture. The second one is called confirmation bias, where we only look at information that aligns with our beliefs. And so then we just simply reject anything because of its source. Say, oh no, that can't be true. It came from this source or that source. It's really important to understand that no one has the market on truth. Their truth can be found in so many places. And it's so important to be open-minded at these times and to be willing to look under rocks, to do some deep diving and some digging. And that requires courage. And Mars, who is the warrior, is in Aries right now and is in a trine, which is an easy flow to this solar eclipse. And so Mars is asking us to have the courage to dive deep, to look below the surface for truth. Sagittarius is also about the big picture. Sagittarius can, as we start finding these pieces of truth, they're like breadcrumbs that it helps us to start to connect the dots. Things just kind of seem random until we start connecting the dots, that things aren't random, that there is an actual organization of what is happening in our world. In our lives. Our lives have a big picture. We are part of something bigger than ourselves. And I'm not just talking about what's going on in the world right now. I'm talking about, our connection to Creator and the bigger picture in the whole world and our soul, okay, in the universe and the cosmos. This is also a time when our beliefs are crumbling, that we're in a time of many things collapsing, and our beliefs are another one to look at. We might have beliefs that used to be true for us, and we're finding out that maybe they're not as true as we thought. One more thing I want to talk about with this is something called the faith keepers. In Native American traditions, there was someone within the tribe that kept the faith and inspired the community during hard times. And Jupiter, like I said, is a planet of blessings, and it is about faith. Faith that faith in what is to come and faith in the goodness of the universe. Okay. Now, there's several other things happening at this solar eclipse, or I'm just going to say in these last 2 weeks of January, at this solar eclipse, and then on in, at least for another week. Jupiter and Saturn are at what are called anaretic degrees. Well, Saturn is there now. Jupiter will be there shortly. And the anaretic degree is the last degree of any sign. And so Saturn is at 29 degrees of Capricorn right now, and Jupiter will soon be there in a few days after the eclipse. And so that anaretic degree, or the last degree, is very much like it's the last chance to learn the teaching of what that transit was about, the last chance to get it right. And often we are given a challenging lesson so that we don't forget what this teaching is about. And Saturn, and I'm going to talk mainly about Saturn. I'm going to talk a little more about Jupiter down a little later. But Saturn, because Saturn rules Capricorn, it makes it extra strong. And we're not going to see Saturn in Capricorn for another 28 years, thankfully. It's a very hard teaching. And, Saturn is always lessons about maturity, hard work, responsibility. But its most important lesson is about personal authority. Is how do we become our own personal authority? By taking responsibility for our lives and the choices that we make. And the shadow of Capricorn comes in very strongly too, which is very much about restriction, limitation. And it can be a very authoritarian kind of an energy. It's like follow the rules. The rules are more important than the people. The rules. And sometimes the rules don't really serve the people, but there can be a following of the rules with no thought. because of fear. When we get restricted and limited, we can feel fear. We're kind of swimming in a sea of fear right now, and a lot of choices are being made from a place of fear. Whereas the higher aspect of Saturn is about conscience, and it's about personal authority. But we're also, another piece of this that is, it's about the limitation, is that it's making us be still. It's making us be quiet, because so much of what is to come has to do with inner change. It's like we can't change the outer world. We change the outer world through changing our inner world, and that is the bigger teachings that are coming. The Sabian symbol for this 29th degree of Capricorn is pretty amazing. It is directors of a large firm meet in secret conference. And Capricorn rules government, corporations, banking, medical establishment, all institutions of our civilization. And it doesn't take a lot of imagination to, I think, understand what that is saying. All right. The next thing that is happening is a Mars-Pluto square. There's something really wonderful happening. I just haven't gotten to it yet. We got some really hard stuff. But Mars-Pluto, Mars is the warrior, and they say Pluto is the higher octave of Mars. It's a very volatile energy, and a square is challenging. It's like a volcanic eruption. And I'm going to say people are really feeling this, especially with all of the restriction. It kind of feels like a volcanic energy that wants to erupt. And, so it's really important to be aware of. Pluto is very much about our inner motivations. It's understanding our unconscious. It can bring out unconscious behavior, put it that way. Whereas this energy, if it's used in a conscious way, can really accomplish a lot. It's a great surge of energy. This Mars, like I said, is also trining the solar eclipse. So we also maybe see people during this time, and I'm going to say, well, the last 2 weeks of December, but Mars, after it squares Pluto, it's going to go right into a square with Jupiter and Saturn. So it's still really active. I'm going to say till the end of January. We could see a really volatile time from now till the end of January with Mars. We maybe see people standing up, fighting for their beliefs and their rights. But we just need to make sure that it's conscious behavior, not unconscious behavior. And Pluto in Capricorn is, Pluto, wherever it is touching, is very much about the death and rebirth process. And what it brings in for me is like composting. When the life force is leaving, the life force is no longer there, but it can still be used for compost, for birthing the new. So, the truth is our old paradigm is collapsing. It isn't serving us anymore. And those that have the power, of course, are, tightening the screws, basically. They don't want to lose the power. We're moving into Aquarius. Aquarius is about the people. And so these last kind of like the Saturn, Jupiter in Capricorn is kind of like some of the last gasps. Pluto is still going to be in Capricorn for 3 more years, and then it's going to go into Aquarius. And so it's kind of like the collapse is, it can be very scary, and I'm not going to deny it. But yet to be like the faith keeper, holding on and knowing something new is coming. Yeah, there was what was it I shared in my last one? Saturn says, to kind of look reality in the eye and say, this is what I need to do, because this is reality at this moment. Pluto says, let go of the old. What is no longer working, let it go. And Jupiter says, have faith in what is to come. And so what is to come is a Jupiter-Saturn conjunction in Aquarius is happening a week after this eclipse. It is happening on December 21st, on the winter solstice. And the winter solstice, of course, is a big turning point in the year. It's the rebirth of the sun. And it's happening at 0 degrees Aquarius. And Jupiter and Saturn meet up every 20 years together. They're the two biggest planets in our solar system. And they've been meeting in earth signs for the last 200 years. They're going to start to be meet, except for once. They're going to start a 200-year cycle of meeting in air signs. And of course, earth, you know, is very grounded, very materialistic, very practical. Air signs are very visionary and very much about connection with each other. They're going to be so close, they're going to look like a double planet. They haven't been this close in 800 years. Well, let's put it this way, where they're in the sky. They've been in what we call a conjunction, where they're very close in the same part of the sky. But this is the closest they have visibly been. They're in the right alignment to look like a double star. And when what they represent is, when they come together, is the zeitgeist or the spirit of the age. Jupiter is visionary, Saturn is a manifester. And Saturn in Aquarius, as we know, Saturn is very much about personal responsibility and personal authority. And in Aquarius, it is based on the freedom to be ourselves and to follow our conscience. You know, we kind of leave, you know, we still have the rules, but, you know, Saturn makes the rules. Aquarius breaks the rules. And so it's not so much about when they come together, it is about laws and rules that actually serve the people. And the rules may need to be changed. As we know, laws and rules are do not always serve. Okay. But this is, but Saturn in Aquarius asks us to have our personal authority to be based in freedom to be ourselves. Okay. Jupiter in Aquarius is a very expansive vision that serves the people. Jupiter's been traveling in Capricorn between Saturn and Pluto. So it's had a very narrow vision. It hasn't really been able to expand the way it normally expands. But once it moves into Aquarius, it's going to be very expansive. Jupiter and Aquarius are both visionary and freedom-oriented energies. Now, like I said, we're going to be putting one big foot into the age of Aquarius. We still have 1 foot in the age of Pisces, but that age is waning. And one of the pieces of this is that in Pisces, we had a savior. It was about, you know, the victim savior axis was a very strong energy. Aquarius, it's very much about we the people. And it's about the people becoming their own authority. And, you know, one of the teachings, I guess I forgot to say earlier, you know, these planets in Capricorn have really been asking us about where we've given away our power. And this is about the people taking the power back. But the key to take the power back is consciousness. Is the more conscious we are as individuals, the more powerful we are as a group, and we can create the world that we want. Aquarius is very much about thinking for yourself, questioning authority, decisions made from conscience, not fear. It's not the same thing. But the biggest thing, I think, there's 2 things about Aquarius, because Aquarius is very much about group energy. And so it is about the facilitation of unity or unanimity. And it's about the elevation of human consciousness. We all know, well, we've been hearing in so many spiritual teachings that Mother Earth is moving into a 5D reality. Well, it is the age of Aquarius that is going to take human consciousness into that 5D reality to align with Mother Earth and create a new world in the quantum field. It's just so important. I really believe we're going to be shifting from a Newtonian-based consensus reality to a quantum consensus reality, where we learn that creation comes from within, not in response to what is without, and to how to work in that quantum field. Okay. There's so much more. I'm going to be talking about the age of Aquarius and the shift into that um, in all of my upcoming talks. But I just think the most important thing to know right now is that where we focus our energy is what we create. That our thoughts create, and this is the big teaching in the quantum field, is that really being aware of your thoughts and where they take you, and the vibration that it puts you in, because it is the combination of vibration and light form that creates frequency, and that is what creates form. And we're going to be learning so much more about how to create a new world. All right. Well, I will leave you all with this. Just one more thing I want to say, and that is, this Age of Aquarius is coming in on the second ray of love and wisdom. And it is the opening of the collective heart chakra. Aquarius is a revolutionary sign, but it is about a revolution in consciousness. And as we have a revolution in our own consciousness is when we have an effective revolution in the world of form and the outer world. All right, wishing you all a wonderful holiday. If you like this video, please subscribe. And I'm going to be having a very special event on December 21st, 2020 at 3 p.m. on Zoom to usher in this new energy, this big leap into the age of Aquarius. Like I said, we still have one foot in the age of Pisces, so we're straddling two worlds. And we're also straddling the world of the collapse as we're building the new. They're all together. And so I'm going to have an event to usher this energy in, and I will have a link in the box below. All right. Have a good month.